Hello, my name is Glenn Minerva. I'm one of the blockchain engineer here in XODE Blockchain and one of the co-founders of XODE. Today, I will be explaining about blockchain, the benefits of blockchain, some of the use cases that we are building here in XODE Blockchain, as well as some of the links and tools that you need in order for you to build an application in XODE Blockchain. Let me explain a little bit about blockchain. So blockchain is a distributed ledger that allows data to be stored across multiple networks of computers rather than a centralized single server. Each transactions or data that is recorded in the blockchains are recorded in blocks, linked chronologically, and secured through cryptography. So these are the two things that you need to know. Number one, it is stored on a network computers rather than on a single server. And number two is that the data that is stored on the blockchain is stored by blocks, linked chronologically, and hash or encrypted using a basic cryptography like a SHA-256. So I could break down how we could explain the blockchain into four parts. The first part is the input part. The second part is the ownership and encryption part. The third part is the XODE blockchain database part, actually the storage. And the fourth part is the distribution or the consensus or the security. So the first part is the input part, says that the blockchain could accept any data, whether it is through a basic data table like employee records, or a text file, a CSV file, or even an image, a video. So it could accept all of those types of data. Those data are then being encrypted, including the owner of that data. So each owner will have their own private keys. You cannot access the blockchain without your private key. So with that private key plus your data, it is encrypted into one set of data, and what we call it a hash data of a record in the blockchain. That data will then be stored in blocks inside the storage of the blockchain. In our case, it's XODE blockchain, and those data are linked chronologically in such a way that if you remove one data, the entire storage collapses. Once it is being stored, or before it is being written inside the database, it has to go through the series of consensus engine to make sure that your data is valid. And that's where the consensus and the security will take into effect. So there are certain series of validations that make sure that that data is correct. Then if out of 10 nodes, you have 8 nodes are saying that it is correct, then that data is finalized and saved. And once it is saved, it can never be erased. So making the data immutable and changing the state of the entire database state. So keep in mind, number one, it accepts any information. And number two, that information is encrypted into a fixed length width file or data using your own private key so that no one can tamper with it. Only you, who's the one who owns it, can tamper your data or update your data. And then the data goes through a series of consensus to make sure that that encryption is correct, that format is correct, and that data is valid in the blockchain. So keep that in mind as we go on to the benefits. So the benefit of that is that, of course, the number one is transparency. So this is a shared database. So it has to be transparent. All transactions to that database has to be seen by everyone, and all transactions in that database has to be recorded in a series of blocks. Now, there are a lot of ways on how to view the chain, the activities of the chain, one of which is the blockchain scanner. So in our case, in XODE blockchain, you just go to node.xode.net and you can see all the transaction of our blockchain. The same is true with Ethereum. You have Etherscan. Solana, you have Solana Scan. And for us, we have Node Scan for XODE.net. Another benefit for developers is that it provides default security, it's embedded security because it has its consensus, it has a cryptography already in place. So you don't need to build those libraries because the blockchain already has that. And when you build an application and you want your application to be secure, there's no better platform to build except on a blockchain. Another very important benefit if you are going to build an application on a blockchain is that your users, the users of your applications owns the data. No, not you. So those users that owns the data will ultimately gives better confidence for your applications because they own the data, not any centralized authority or even the developers owns the data. Because all the data are encrypted using their private keys, as I've explained earlier, that all private keys are owned by the users themselves. And only those private keys owners can alter their own data, not even the developers themselves. Another benefit for developers is that when you build an application in the blockchain, it is almost entirely interoperable with other blockchain because it has a fixed length with data and all your inputs are being hashed consistently all throughout the database, which is also consistent by other blockchain database. Hence, you don't have to read API documentation in order for you to integrate to another application. Not like what we are doing right now. If you are going to integrate with one bank, you have to read all your API documentation, and then you transfer to another bank, you have to read another API documentation. So for every database, you have to read API documentation in order for you to integrate. But for a blockchain database, if the banks are using blockchain database, you don't need to read all the API documentation. All you have to do is to follow the protocol messaging, and immediately you can integrate with their blockchain database. And that is very important. And in our case, we have several applications already running on XODE. We have the miming bridge, which integrates XODE to Solana, which integrates XODE to Ethereum, and so on and so forth. There are also a lot of examples, like the one application, which is the DEX screener, which integrates all the decentralized exchange in one application for all blockchain that is available today in the world. So without real world use cases, no matter how good the technology is, if it is not being used by the users, then there's no value on it. And to provide value, you must have real world use cases for the technology. For our case, the blockchain technology. So one of the most commonly used of the blockchain is the DeFi, decentralized finance. I think about 70% of all the applications right now are dealing with decentralized finance using the blockchain database. The DeFi actually enables a banking module in the virtual world. So whatever you do in banks right now, like you are going to save, you are going to lend money, you are going to borrow money, whatever it is, whatever applications that you are doing in the bank right now, it can be done using the DeFi application that runs on a blockchain. And that is the most commonly used application of the blockchain as of the moment. Another real-world application is the Web3 gaming. So in our case, in XODE Blockchain, we have our own X game platform, which houses and publishes games to be in Web3. So what does it mean is that if you are a gamer and you would like to play a game inside a Web3 game on X game, whatever you collect in terms of NFTs, like your characters, your experience, your equipment, whatever NFT out there in the game can be owned, or only you can own those items, not even the platform owner or even the game developer. Making pure ownership on those NFTs so that you could go to X game platform and then trade it yourselves. So you could sell it, you could exchange it to other items, and so on and so forth. One of the things that we do in XODE blockchains is actually the ramp, because the ramp connects the virtual world to the physical world or the real world. And ramps offer the direct conversion of virtual assets like cryptocurrencies to physical money, or a peso or a US dollar. And we have a product called MultiPX that does that. MultiPX also is unique in such a way that you can use this API to your Web3 wallet. So if you are building a Web3 wallet and you want to use a ramp automatically from your virtual assets like cryptocurrencies, you could use MultiPX APIs. So we use it in our Extreme wallet, and our Extreme wallet right now can scan QR code and then pay immediately to the merchant or to the store, and then to get your products and services without having to convert your existing cryptocurrency assets. So how do you get started? So the first thing you would do is to, of course, get access to the testnet, because you need to deploy first before you deploy. You need to deploy first in the testnet before you can deploy in the production server. So we have a testnet. There's a link here. And then if you would like to ask about how to develop an application in XODE, there's a Discord channel. And in that Discord channel also, we will provide XON for you so that you can start developing the application in XODE Blockchain. And you could also read the JavaScript Polkadot libraries, which we are using. This is similar to Web3.js. So this is Polkadot.js, but designed specifically for Polkadot ecosystem substrate-based blockchain like XODE Blockchain. And if you would like to be involved in developing a blockchain core, setting up palettes, setting up consensus engine, setting up blockchain storage algorithms, so our XODE blockchain source codes are freely available in open source in a GitHub community. Thank you so much.